We are on the links. Hello and welcome. Trent Rush with you. We got Nico Bollini. Boy, Nico, maybe a thing or two to talk about this week. Pretty crazy what has gone on in the world of golf. We're excited to be here with you. Of course, LIV Golf dominating the conversation. The irony of this today is, the RBC up in Canada, the leaderboard is Rory McIlroy, Justin Thomas. You're seeing like the biggest names playing in this PGA event on Sunday. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about that today. Everyone wants to know about LIV, what is going on there, and the impact that it's going to have moving forward, because there is a chance that this could be something much bigger than just one weekend of golf, or maybe we're all just overblowing this, and it is just one weekend of golf. But it's pretty interesting to see how this is all gone. Nico, have you had a chance to watch any of the coverage?
The LIV Golf
events?
Yes, I did. I watched a good portion of all 3 days, and the actual golf wasn't that exciting because I don't think anyone really cared about the actual tournament golf. It was more of what was going to happen, what was going to be the final product for this event. And, I like the shock and start. It sounds kind of corny, but you condense the broadcast into that 4.5 hour window, right? No more showing Rory's highlights of 63 from his 7:30 a.m. tee time, right? It's all there. I like the way they structure the scoreboard. I know they're trying to take a little bit from the Formula One stuff, but I did like it. The actual golf, I didn't really pay attention to that much. I just want to see what was going on. And the golf course seemed okay. It was pretty corny. I mean, Jerry Foltz, he's going to be the guy who's going to be the broadcaster going forward for the time being for LIV Golf. And he poured it on pretty heavy with his kind of antics.
I want to stop you right there because I am not a person that's going to go out and criticize broadcasters. It's just not what I do. That's my world, and I know how tough it is to do that.
100%.
That said, you can also tell when somebody is being authentic, and you can tell when somebody has notes, talking points, what you're trying to do.
Correct.
I've watched this guy for a long time, and I have seen really good broadcasters in golf, and LIV went and got good golf broadcasters. But then I see shots and things that I've never heard ever on a broadcast, where you'd see a shot that gets hit to 4 feet. Oh, is that going to be a hole in one? Like,
yeah, too much.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Like, I just want to watch the golf. It can be a great shot. He hit the 4 feet, but it had no chance of going in the hole. Why are we wanting to celebrate? Oh, is this going to be the first hole in one in LIV Golf history?
Yeah.
Like, who cares? Like that to me, the whole impression I got of everything was trying too hard. That was my biggest takeaway.
Yeah, the whole don't blink, right? Those are kind of adage going throughout the entire event. So again, and Jerry Foltz is very good, but listening to him during the coverage, I'm like, it's not the same Jerry that I remember listening to before.
That's my point. He's great, and I don't want to knock him because this to me absolutely felt like there are notes and talking points from somebody else.
For sure.
That was my takeaway. And then the Shipnuck thing where he wasn't letting the press conference during Phil's thing, start of the week with Norman.
Yeah.
Had his arms crossed in the background. It just, the whole thing felt like a circus sideshow act. And I think that might end up being what LIV Golf kind of wants to be. And they might very well be that. I think they're going to get attention because of this. And I don't know about you, Nico. This has been a week for me. I get a lot of texts about Angels baseball, and there's been a lot to discuss when it comes to Angels baseball this week. I have had just as many people reach out to me wanting to know about the LIV Golf stuff, people that do not follow the sport at all. I'm like, hey, we've been talking about this on the show since November, December. Yeah. This has been a major talking point for close to a year. Meanwhile, this week, the whole world seems to be paying attention to what Greg Norman and the Saudis have put together at the Centurion Club. And Charles Schwartzel wins it, and he does so, taking home a boatload of cash. But that being said, it's obvious that whatever they're doing, to me, is not sustainable. Also, it might not matter. It might not matter that it's not sustainable because those pockets are so deep, they can keep going and going and going. I'm just trying to figure out what they want to accomplish here. I mean, even Gary Player, I heard some comments that he made about this, about, hey, why can't, the two coexist? And what's, it just seems like LIV is trying to play nice. The PGA Tour is wanting to shut off the LIV Golf threat that they are right now. And as much as we will minimalize what LIV is doing, I think it's real. It's obviously here. And for at least the time being, with the kind of cash they're spending, this thing's not going away.
It's the guaranteed money. I just think, what other professional sports organization, when you're at the top level, maybe tennis, but even tennis, I think you kind of get that 64 draw, and everybody gets paid in that 64 draw. I don't know if there's like a qualifying or some type of preliminary event to get to that 64 draw, but everybody gets paid. The PGA Tour, the European Tour, golf, the model is one of the only sports in the world I can think of that you could get to the very top and lose money. I'll take James O, for example, a good friend of mine. He's one of the better instructors in the game today. He went from pre-qualifying to first stage to second stage to third stage, got his PGA Tour card. And I don't have the data in front of me, but he didn't make very many cuts. I guarantee he lost a good chunk of money for a year. Hunter Mahan, for example, he's not playing anymore, but 2 or 3 years ago, his game was kind of struggling a little bit still, but he wanted to kind of give it one last run. And he played 20 to 25 events and only made $58,000. He probably spent $300,000 in travel expenses. What other sport do you lose money at the top echelon? And golf is one of those sports, it can leave you at any time. The game can leave you. Vijay Singh, he always talked about it. I want to swing a golf club every single day because I'm scared to death that the game could leave me. David Duval, gone. Henrik Stenson, he was a top player in the world before, got the yips with his driver, disappeared for 5-6 years, somehow made it back. But that's one of the very rare occasions where a guy lost his game and made it back. Most people just flutter out. And then you got young amateurs. Justin Suh out of USC. He was the #1 ranked amateur in the world. Him, Victor Hovland, Matthew Wolff, and Colin Morikawa. Those were the big four coming out of college golf. And Justin was the top guy. Where is he now? You don't see him on tour. He's struggling to kind of, I think he'll make it. He's a very good player. He's actually on the more normalized trajectory of getting your PGA Tour card, right? The average time gap it takes to get your PGA Tour card is like 6 to 7 years. Where Wolf and those guys were a little unique, Morikawa, and they got it right away.
Catch fire, win the right
events. Yeah. He's going to take a little more time, but he could just as easily wash out too. I mean, it happens with guys. I could say I'm one of them. I was a pretty good player in college golf. I never made it on tour. And you're telling me there's a tour out there now that will guarantee, it's like signing a contract. If Justin Suh would have been the #1 draft pick, right, of the PGA Tour, and they would have guaranteed him $25 million for 3 years, 4 years, and then say he flutters out, you know what? He still got $25 million in cash. That's pretty nice.
If LIV Golf was around 10 years ago, I mean, you would have been a desirable.
I think
piece
so.
For that. I think you would have been. You would have probably been involved in that. I just think that, we can sit here and talk about the moral high ground and this and that. I think that at a certain point that, money obviously talks, and that's where you're getting these players to go to LIV Tour. But maybe I'm wrong, but I certainly feel like there is this good versus evil kind of thing at play here, especially with the names that are going to Norman's Tour. You're talking about Patrick Reed. Phil Mickelson now is on the dark side. Dustin Johnson. I know that there have been, again, I'm basing this mostly on reputation. DeChambeau. Nah. I mean, these are all guys that you've heard about and you've heard stories about of maybe not being the Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth. It's a different, there is like this divide on tour. And what this might end up creating is you might end up having almost like you're picking sides, almost like teams when you get into majors. Oh, there's the PGA guys, and then there's the LIV guys, which actually could make for a rivalry. That would have to be, I would think, the dream for what Greg Norman would want out of his tour. But I do think that it's very interesting that it seems like, there's the good guy PGA guys, and then there's the bad guy LIV guys. I think that there is at least that narrative existing right now.
Yeah, and I was out practicing this morning with a tour player, and we were kind of discussing it, and he mentioned that, I asked him, I was like, hey, it's about the majors, right? The majors are what people want to win, right? The tour schedule around, you get the top guys, the top 20, 30 players in the world, they design their schedule around the majors, right? It all goes back to Tiger, right? He always set his schedule to around the majors. And a lot of the top guys want to peak at those majors. It's very hard, it's very difficult as any athlete to peak at the right time. I mean, if everybody had the secret sauce to peak at the right time, they'd figure it out. And I asked him, I was like, would you rather win, for example, the Reno Tahoe Open or the John Deere Classic or one of the LIV events? He's like, either one. It doesn't really matter. There is legacy in some of the smaller PGA Tour events, but aside from the Players Championship, the Memorial, Jack's Tournament, Bay Hill, Riv, there's probably 10 tour events that are prestigious legacy tour events. Then the rest are kind of like tour events. You love to win them. Don't get me wrong. You want to win them.
You're going to different TV markets, and that's the whole point.
That's fine. Yeah. But if you got this LIV tour where they're paying Schwartzel made $4 million, and I think the team won the event too.
Yeah, he got another $750 from winning the team event.
And I think it took him 6 or 7 years to make that $4 million. The last 6 years. I mean, he made 30% of his total career earnings in 3 days. I don't care what you say. I think everybody has a price. I really do.
Yeah,
you know,
you're right. I think that there are some people where it really, you've made so much, you've done so well, it doesn't matter. I think Tiger's one of those. What they offer him $1 billion?
Yeah, who knows?
It just doesn't matter. It just, Tiger's not going to do it. Tiger's not in that point. But I think that if you are a middling tour player and you're seeing Schwartzel go get 4 3/4 in one weekend and 54 holes, why wouldn't you think about going to be a part of that? So I could see that eventually, maybe even now, being an issue for the PGA Tour. The problem is going to happen when so many players start wanting to cash in on that it's going to be all of a sudden a lot tougher to win some of those LIV events. That's going to make things kind of interesting. Then people might be going back to the tour if they're welcome.
And what the LIV Tour is doing is that they're trying to recruit the young guys. So they had Payot, who's the reigning USAM champ, play. I mean, again, let's take my career, for example, right? I had a decent college career and I had a rough senior year, right? I'm not confident going into tour school. Then all of a sudden I got this LIV Tour. It's like, hey, Nico, we'll give you, kind of like baseball, we'll give you a signing bonus.
Yeah.
We'll give you $1 million to come play the LIV Tour. Guaranteed cuts. So $1 million, here you go, to come play for us. We'll give you a 2-year, 3-year contract to come play all the events on the LIV Tour, all guaranteed money. And then at the end of that, right, there's a world ranking based on that or whatever it is. Like you get signed by the Iron Heads or whatever these teams are called, and you get a chance to prove yourself. It's like, okay, I can play on the LIV Tour and flutter out, but at least I got a few $1 million in my pocket. Or I try to go get on the PGA Tour, maybe never make the tour, right? Never just cross that barrier of the Corn Ferry. Because you're right, iron sharpens iron. If you go to the PGA Tour and what you make financially is directly attributed to how you play, it's going to weed out the weaker players. But people want to take care of the families. People want to make money. People want to guarantee living because the game is a scary game, meaning one block tee shot, out of bounds right. Now that doubt starts creeping in bit by bit. Then all of a sudden you're out of a job and you're 30 years old and now you go find a real job.
I think about it like this. Let's take like the KBO, the Korean League, for example, in baseball. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden they had crazy money. And again, I don't want to include any of the political stuff in this. I'm just talking strictly dollars and cents. And they're going to go offer Mike Trout $150 million a season to go play in the Korean League. What would he do? What's he going to do in making that, if that were to be the case? I think that maybe would be an equivalent. The biggest difference that I see with golf and with baseball, basketball, football, NBA, minimum salary, $900,000, baseball, $700,000. Your league minimum at the highest level is substantial. Mm-hmm. Your league minimum on the PGA is zero.
Zero.
And I think that could be where there are issues. And it's like, I don't want to sit here and be crying, oh man, these guys need to get paid more. And I think that, especially when we see the top end players making crazy money. But to your point that you made to start the show today, Nico, if you're a player that's trying to make cuts and you have your tour card and maybe you're only making 6 or 7 cuts over the course of a season, and you're Hunter Mahan and you made $58,000, but you spent $300 in travel expenses. Let's say you got $20,000 a week to be in a PGA event. That covers your expenses. Yeah. So you're not getting rich doing that. You have to win to get rich, but you're not losing money entering an event. And if I think that were to be the case, and there was at least that security of knowing, hey, I'm going to this weekend, it's not money out of my pocket. If I succeed, it's money in my pocket. If I don't, I get another chance next week. I think if that were to be the case, I think that you would not be seeing tour players ranked 50 to 125 bolting. I think they'd all stick around if that were to be the case.
Yeah, I think so too. And, ironically, we were discussing that this morning about, padding each week with a certain guaranteed salary or some type of money. Hey, here's $20,000 for travel, for hotel, for caddies, for various events, tickets, whatever it is. I mean, it's expensive stuff. And none of it's paid for by the tour. I don't believe so. Again, I've never played on tour, but I'm pretty sure none of it's taken care of. Unless you have certain invitationals where they put you up. And these events, we compared it to, you mentioned Mike Trout. If he got signed by the Korean baseball organization or whatever, he got paid a bunch of money. But he's getting paid a bunch of money here and it's guaranteed. Now, what if in baseball, or I use basketball for example, but imagine if you signed a contract with the Lakers as a center, all right? And you're paid on a per game basis, okay? You only get paid if you have 2 rebounds. Shooting guard, you only get paid if you put up 10 points a game. If you don't put up 10 points a game, you get $0. That would make it exciting for the fan.
Sure.
But you think the players want that?
No chance.
No chance.
We'll go play in Europe where it's guaranteed.
Where it's guaranteed money, exactly. And does that change the fan experience? Like if you were to guarantee purses at the Masters, would it make you not want to watch? For me, no. I don't want to watch. Formula One, all those guys get paid. The bottom 3 or 4 drivers, they're getting paid. They're signing big contracts. But it's still attractive to watch it. Now again, we like the model as a fan. You don't make a cut, you don't get paid. Oh man, that's a grind. But the tour guys don't. They don't like it. They want to all get paid. Or, when I say the tour guys, you have the top heavy players that like it because they're better. They're going to make money. But you have 75% of the field.
Yeah, if you're the 111th guy in the world.
That are just making half the cuts, not making half the cuts. But it's like, if it's guaranteed money, shoot, you want to take it. Because a lot of those guys out there, I think deep down know that their game isn't sustainable. And those are the guys that are leaving to the LIV Tour. It's like, man, I'm on tour with smoke and mirrors. I'm on tour, but I don't know if I can hang. So I better go, get it at the LIV Tour, before the game's gone.
I keep thinking like the LIV Tour. And I actually, one thing that I appreciate about what they're doing is they are trying to coexist with the PGA in the sense that it's 54 holes, not 72. So like today's TV window is covering the Sunday round of the PGA with all the top golfers. Rory is at the top of the leaderboard last time I checked. So people are going to be watching today the PGA Tour. They finished up on Saturday. So in a certain, they're not going truly head to head. They're also not going after Bay Hill, the LA Open, the Genesis Invitational. They're not the Memorial. They're not going to go head to head with those events. They're going to pick the lighter events then to go with those, which I think probably initially was to give the players an option of which tournament you would want to be in out of respect to the history of the PGA. I'm just kind of stuck in this sense, like, of course I'm on Team PGA Tour. Mostly because I don't really find the LIV Golf product one that I'm a huge fan of right now. Maybe it eventually becomes that. The team play, to me, I didn't really care for it. I get what you're saying about the shotgun start where it's all happening in the 4.5 hour window. Personally, I don't want to miss Rory's 63, but I like that I can see the highlights. Sure, I got short attention span. Me and 99.999% of America feels that way. You want the clips and you get caught up. And I like You know, the feeling when you're watching the back nine, the front nine on Sunday at a major, when you're cutting around and seeing all of the action. You get to the back nine, now it's just the leaders you're following, but you can't you can't catch a breath because you're cutting to so much action going on, trying to keep track of all of those things. In a shotgun, I don't think you're experiencing it the same way. I think also the way courses are designed, the flow of a round is going to be very different in a shotgun start versus everyone starting on one, and there's momentum. Like, can you imagine if, you know, there was a shotgun start at Augusta and your first hole was 12? So you have that shot, and that's your first hole, and you hit it into the water, and then you recover. And it's like, okay, I got 17 holes to pick it up. So that kind of stuff, I'm not crazy about. That's why I don't ever see it having anything more than an XFL kind of an impact. But they are going to get good players. I think they're at least interesting. I think they got the players to be interesting, but I wasn't crazy about the product.
But the XFL, they weren't getting some of the top players. They didn't get a Tom Brady. They didn't get a top Aaron Rodgers. They're getting, the LIV is attracting some big names, and they have an endless fund. To me, money is going to always be there, right? The money that they have back in this thing is, from what I understand, it is endless.
Well, let's be honest. It's bad business. What the LIV, there's no chance that's profitable.
But I don't think they care.
That's the difference.
I don't think they care.
Yeah.
You know, I really don't. So, and like I said, you do bring up a great point. Take, for example, TPC Sawgrass. You do a shotgun event there, right? Ideally, you would think the top 5 players are teeing off on hole 1, right? Hole 1 or 2 kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then you have somebody who's 3 or 4 strokes back, and they teed off on 16.
Yeah.
So they get 16, 17, 18 out of the way right away. So then they finish, you know, on those holes, and they got the leaders coming down on 17 and 18, where the guy who's now in the lead is finishing 15, 16. So yeah, I do understand that could be tricky, but it will be refined. It will get better. But I'm not heavily against it. You know what I mean? And again, it's not that I'm against any tour. I'm against players wanting to make their own decision to do what's best for themselves. That's what I'm for. And I hate how people are kind of given these virtuous signs of where the money's coming from, et cetera, et cetera. And like I've discussed before, we've never been in that position. I have, you haven't, where we're getting offered life-changing money. Until I get to that position, you know, and some people throws, you know, a ridiculous amount of money our way, I don't know how I decide.
I'm not crazy about the way the tour handled this.
No, I'm not either.
And this is where I think that things could have been a lot different. I think the tour almost gave it more credence by being so dramatically against it. I think if they were to have just been like, sure, no, do your thing, we're fine, not going to affect us, I think you would have seen great fields, and I think you would have seen 6 to 8 weeks a year where this other spectacle was going to get a ton of attention, but the rest of the year, it's yours. I think if the PGA would not have come out so firmly against, that I think that they actually, by coming out that strong, they created a bit of a rivalry, which almost brought LIV to the equal playing field. And I think that's a huge mistake the PGA Tour made.
So, say the LIV continues to grow, right? Say you get some marquee names switching over, right? The rumors of Ricky Fowler, Bubba Watson going over are real. Matt Wolff, young guys, popular players. I mean, Ricky Fowler might be the most popular guy for a Pro-Am event.
No doubt.
And that's devastating to sponsors for tour events. So you get those guys affecting. But then you have Thomas and Rory, they dug their heels in. They'll never play LIV events. I don't know if they said that, but they're like, it's done. It's a Mickey Mouse tour. I will never play.
Guys that have won multiple majors.
Now, say you got, the LIV has got big names, and they're making money hand over fist. Can you, Jay Monahan, PGA Tour commissioner, right? Can he, if the LIV Tour becomes something real, can he field a phone call? Can he make a phone call to them saying, all right, let's work together? What's the PR on that? Well, for Jay Monahan, if all of a sudden he's dug his heels in so much against the PGA Tour, but now he's calling them. hey, Liv, can we partner on this thing? You know what? I can't fight this. Let's try to work together.
Where's the leverage?
This is with the LIV Tour.
And I don't think that, I think that the PGA in their response elevated the LIV Tour. I really do, because had it been, look, if the PGA didn't come out so strongly against it, if they didn't say, oh no, if you're gone, it's like you're defecting, you're out, you're not welcome back, you're off the tour, if they didn't come out that strong, it would be seen as like a series of exhibitions.
Yeah.
That's all it would be. And that might have been what was trying to happen from the beginning. But the PGA trying to nip this thing before it can get started has a chance to really backfire, because now it's on the same playing field. It's now head-to-head competition when it never should have been, never was intended to be that. And now all of a sudden it is.
And the group backing the LIV Tour, they're not going to negotiate with Jay Monahan now. So at this point,
no, why would they?
Why would they?
Yeah.
So okay, so let's move on. So say the PGA Tour realizes, like, hey, I don't know if we can fight this thing. We better start working with them. Are they going to have to put somebody else in place?
Well, what happens? What happens when the 8-team field or 8-event field becomes 24?
Yeah. And Jay Monahan, from what I heard, is very good and has done a very good job and is a very well-respected person. But he's dug his heels in pretty hard against this LIV Tour. So what happens when he realizes he's got to negotiate some type of schedule with these guys? Hey, let's make this work. You think Greg Norman's going to take that phone call? From what I understand, Greg did call him, and Jay did not pick up.
I get the impression it's like in politics. You're the incumbent. You've been the mayor of your town, and you're from there. The people love you, this and that. And somebody comes in and they want to change things. Well, they're getting some popularity. All of a sudden, they're gaining a little bit of traction. People are on board, and they're challenging you to a debate. They're trying to get you engaged, trying to do something. If you never acknowledge them, if you kind of dismiss them, then you're never on the same playing field.
Yeah.
As soon as you say, no, you're nothing, sure, I'll debate you anytime because I'm going to kick your tail or any of this. At that point, now all of a sudden you are on an even playing field. And I think that the PGA Tour, Jay Monahan and Greg Norman today are on a level playing field, which is crazy. 2 weeks ago, I would have thought there was no chance that could happen. I'm sure Jay Monahan's feeling the same way.
Yeah.
It's just fascinating how crazy and how quickly things have turned. I think that if this, and this may never happen, but if the LIV Tour could take a lot of these new ideas, the new principles of what they're trying to accomplish on the tour, the shotgun start's fine, but I don't like it, but whatever. The team play is interesting. That gets more refined. They're going to mess around with the graphics. If they can tweak some of those things, maybe make it a little bit more appealing to the traditional viewer, get a TV contract for one is probably the first start there. Then I do think that there's a chance for this thing to at least gain a lot of attention. But we've also seen, like, the match, for example. The match, the first time Tiger and Phil did it, everybody was tuned in. After that, nah. So I think that's what LIV's going to be fighting.
But why do you need a TV contract? I like the whole streaming from YouTube. You can access it anywhere. I mean, you find some advertising dollars.
I think if you are 20, 30, 40, I think you're in on the streaming. I think if you're 60, 70, older, I think you're going to have a hard time with it not being on TV. And let's be, what is the golf base?
Yeah. What
are golf fans? And believe me, there are more people like, so I'm going to be turning 30 here. A lot of my friends, late 20s, early 30s. That's a big group that I'm around. That's a group that is growing in the game of golf and taking it up and filling up courses, and that's fantastic. That group is going to watch the streaming and be locked in on that. But I do think that you have a very important core viewership, core audience that skews older that is going to be alienated by this thing. That's kind of where I'm coming from. But it is interesting. Let's continue this. Let's take a short break. I want to continue this conversation. Plus, I want to hear about some of this. Nico, you're getting ready to go play in the CB McDonald back east over at Nashville. That's going to be insane. I want to
Mhm.
hear about your prep for that. Maybe some ideas about what to expect, the little West Coast, East Coast differential. We'll talk about that when we come back, plus more LIV Golf conversation, because I know you guys are as fired up about this as we are. He's Nico. I'm Trent. You're listening to On the Links on Angels Radio, AM 830. LIV got the right guys. They have the money that is endless. PGA might have messed this up. This is crazy what's happened in the world of golf. It's topsy-turvy. Nico, you and I were just talking in the last break. He's Nico Bollini. I'm Trent Rush. Nico is a really great golfer. Former SCGA champ. Played at USC. Unbelievable amateur and professional career. And just talking about what LIV Golf means and what it could mean to the PGA. And I think in a span of a month, this thing has gone from not having anything to getting the right guys, and it's not Phil Mickelson. Like, Phil Mickelson garnered a lot of attention, sure, but I think it's getting DeChambeau. I think it's getting enough middle-tier guys to make the field respectable. And Charles Schwartzel wins. All right. Do we really care that much? No. But there is something that's been established here that has to be terrifying to the PGA Tour.
You know, if I'm the PGA Tour, I'm immediately looking to find ways to work with them. Because there's also rumors that they want to partner or thinking about partnering with the DP World Tour, the former European Tour. So all of a sudden, if you get the LIV and the European Tour forming this one juggernaut of an event, the PGA Tour is in real trouble.
It's going to be USA versus the world, and the Americans are going to the world side.
Yeah, and I believe the top American player, the PGA Tour could be relegated, right? Let's say it to a Corn Ferry Tour. It might become that, because if you have this LIV Tour that now partners with the DP World Tour, right? All of a sudden you're having these huge payouts at incredible locations, right? Say you're doing a tournament in France, you're doing a tournament in Australia, you're doing a tournament in South Africa, a couple in the USA. You don't think the wives of those tour players don't want to go visit those cities with this guaranteed money? And you can still play in the Masters, you can still play in the US Open, you can still play in the British, and you can still play in the PGA, because they are not run by the PGA Tour.
So many events on the PGA Tour slate are centered around capturing a television market to go to different areas and get different groups of people interested. And we're going to make sure that we get the Cincinnati viewership is going to be involved. So change that to we're going to get Johannesburg, and that's the difference here, and that is dramatic. To go, you're now talking about global TV markets as opposed to just 800,000 people that you're trying to capture. Well, no, we have like 12 million.
Okay, well, let's take it to another level. That DP World Tour, right? Say they partner with the LIV Tour, right? And now the French Open, that is one of the oldest tournaments in the world, is now part of the LIV Tour. Let's take the most prestigious European Tour events, right? I've discussed this before. You have Hong Kong, you have Singapore, you have France, right? The French Open, you have the German, the Italian Open, right? You bring these like pretty sexy names in Milan, in Rome, in Paris, and Singapore, all these great cities, and they have tradition. There's names that have won it. Palmer's won the Italian Open years ago. Like those kind of big names, history. Now they're part of the European Tour. What's the Reno Tahoe Open going to do in Montreux?
I like Montreux too.
I do too.
It's nice up there. Yeah,
I do too. And I want to win that. I want to win that tournament too. But if I had a choice,
Yeah.
what am I going to do? I mean, I'm getting paid for that week, so I'll fly private there. Like, don't give me an excuse about the travel. You're going to an exotic city. The PGA Tour can quickly become relegated to a lower status tour if it doesn't find a way to either work with the LIV Tour or change their structure.
There is going to be the most important decision of all. That's going to boil down to a handful of groups. Royal and Ancient, the USGA, and Augusta.
Yeah, those are the three kind of big heads. You're right.
And those are the three that operate the three most prestigious events in the world. And right now, there's no distinction on what tour you come from. And whoever is running and deciding the official World Golf Rankings is going to have a lot to do with this as well. Because as long as the majors are inclusive of all, you're talking about two tours that could coexist at a high level. As soon as the side gets picked, at that moment, then it's only one is going to end up on top here. And I think that's what we're looking at. I think that if Augusta were to say, no, you have to be on the PGA Tour, otherwise you're not going to be eligible for our event, well, all of a sudden that could change a lot of things. That could go back and help out the PGA Tour big way in the leverage.
And financially, the PGA Tour, I was talking about this morning with this tour player, I don't think they can compete financially.
There's no chance.
There's no chance.
Nobody could, because if like let's say the PGA Tour technically is a nonprofit, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to operate at a zero budget. Okay, it's probably not, but that's probably what their the ultimate goal would be, to operate at a zero budget. They're going to run it. They can run it at a negative billion.
So
it just doesn't matter.
So here's a good solution, right? I'm thinking if the PGA Tour, you're having meetings in there saying, all right, let's take the LA Open or the Genesis Invitational, the Players Championship, right? We'll take Colonial, Memorial, Bay Hill. Take their 7 or 8 most prestigious PGA Tour events, PGA Tour sanctioned events, and say, hey, LIV Tour, if this is going to keep growing, we'll partner with you guys on these specific 8 events that are part of the LIV Tour, run by the PGA Tour, whatever you want to do, like a co-sanctioned event, which has happened multiple times. Now the PGA Tour, but you always have co-sanctioned Australasian and European Tour, or European and Latin American Tour, etc. Co-sanction those events, and then your off weeks, like the Bob Hope, or all those kind of fringe events. I mean, the Bob Hope used to be a great event, but you know what I was talking about, right. The lower tier. Those can just be on their own PGA Tour events. They're going to have weaker fields, but at least you're not being left hung to dry and losing all your guys. At least you're partnering with them. So the PGA Tour would take their top 7, 8 events.
Yeah.
The European Tour would take their top 7 events. Then you have the World Tour, like Australasia and South Africa and Latin America. Give them 3 or 4. There's your 22, 24 event LIV World Tour schedule that co-sanctions with 3 or 4 various tours. And those 3 or 4 various tours can then operate the rest of their events. If the top guys want to play in it or not, they probably won't. But that'll be almost like a stepping stone tour. I mean, I kind of see. I would try to start.
That to me would be such a huge L for the PGA.
It would, but
they might not have a choice.
It would be a huge L, but what's the alternative? Again, I don't know what the financials are. I know this model is going to work, but money talks. Guaranteed money talks.
One thing that was a takeaway from Gary Player's interview, and I know that interview got a lot of scrutiny, but he said something there that rings so true. The heart and soul of golf is not professional golf. It's amateur golf. Mm-hmm. It's playing on Saturdays with your friends. It's being at your local club, playing in a mid-am events and competing at that level. That is the true heart and soul of golf. So we're talking about these professionals. That is the 1/1,000,000,000% of people, right, that play golfer. I'm exaggerating, obviously, but that is such a small group compared to the vast amount of people that play this beautiful game. And if amateur golf is the heart and soul of what golf is, well, the cream of the crop when it comes to that, Nico, is what you're about to be a part of at the CB McDonald out at National. You're going to be part of the George Thomas out at LA Country Club. Pretty big-time, prestigious mid-am events. I would be curious to know, not just about gearing up for one of these, but gearing up for like the CB McDonald at National. So much history, so much tradition, and also like the difference of East Coast versus West Coast. Because I think that you go to most West Coast clubs, there's going to be people that say, oh, well, that club is stuffy. Well, the West Coast, it's pretty relaxed. It's pretty chill, quite frankly, when you're talking about even the highest level clubs out here on the West. It's nowhere close to what you might experience on the East Coast. So as you're a West Coast guy, getting ready for something like this, like, does it change at all your perspective? Like, when you go into a tournament week, is there anything that's different for you when you're going to a place like National?
Well, Yeah, you got to get all your ducks in a row with work because you're going to be MIA, all right? You're going to have your phone shut off for 4 or 5 straight days. You're not going to be able to access it. I don't even know if National allows phones on property. A lot of the clubs on the West Coast that has strict no cell phone rules have alleviated those rules a bit, and now you can text, you can make certain phone calls from little rooms in the clubhouse because, right, life is just too connected to the phone now. Back east, I don't think those rules have changed. I am not 100% sure. The style of golf will certainly change. It's a firmer, faster conditions, right? Great sand-based golf courses. So I'll be working on bump and runs, which I've been doing. And fortunately, Santa Ana.
Yeah, you can do that there.
Yeah, you can do that. So it's a great place to prepare for that type of golf. But it is different. And we have different segments here, right? Orange County is not the same as Los Angeles County with golf. Right, our private clubs here compared to private clubs in LA are a little different. Here, Orange County is still Orange County. It's the untucked shirt, it's the radios, it's the speakers, right? It's the bro golf kind of thing. That attitude is still reigns a bit supreme here. Where LA, the LA Country Clubs, LA Country Club is probably the only one. Even the Bel Airs and the Lakesides and the Riviera has much more of a corporate feeling, but Bel Air and Lakeside are LA, they're old school, but they're okay to let the Hollywood people in and kind of have fun and let loose. Where LA Country Club is still pretty old school. I like it. I like both of them, but I like the old school. You know, wear a jacket to dinner, that kind of thing. And that's the East Coast. I'm taking a jacket. You got to take a tie, pants only. I'm pretty sure. Caddies, like really old world style of golf. No AC in the clubhouse. You know, that kind of stuff. I mean, you're on the most prime piece of land. Like, I don't think Shinnecock's right next door. And I'm pretty sure there's no AC in there. It's like one of those random things that people don't think about. There's zero AC, great showers. There's no water regulations over there, right? So little tiny detail things you appreciate. You know, the national lunch, I hear, is a whole different animal. It's, you know, some type of crab cakes or lobster sandwiches, that kind of thing. I mean, it's a preset menu from what I understand. So, like, it's a very well-known lunch. The traditions there are old school, very much. And I think they stick with their ways compared to Southern California golf.
As far as the golf is concerned, I know that you study courses. I know that you're into the architecture and you're into that stuff. How much does knowing that part play an impact for you? Like, National is so well known for its history, and there has been so much written about the way McDonald would build courses and all of those things. Is that something that is meaningful to you when you're getting ready for an event?
Oh, 100%. Now, is it meaningful to me getting ready for a tournament? Not as much, because remember, that golf course was built in the Hickory Day, and the game today is a purely aerial game, where before it was a game we played on the ground. So, and that's why I enjoy being an amateur now versus being a professional. Because when I was a pro, I didn't care about the design as much as what do I need to do to win this tournament. I'm gonna bomb and gouge. I hate bomb and gouge. It's so like against the core of who I am. But when I was playing, I'd do it. I don't care. I'm here to win. I'm here to do what I can to win tournaments. I want to hit wedge into every single hole. I don't care. Where now as an amateur, you can sort of step back and have fun with the game. Play the game as the way it's meant to be played. But back at National, I understand, I'm going to respect what Stevie McDonald did, obviously, and the piece of property he built it on. But I'm going to go out there and try to as far as I can, or at least put it as close as I can to the green and wedge it up and down. Unless it's completely not called for. And then on Monday, you know, after the tournament's over, a casual round of golf, yeah, sure, I'm going to start playing the holes their way they were meant to be played. All this, you want to cut into this hole because the bank's sitting this way and you got to go against the wind, sure. But in tournament play, it's like, I don't feel comfortable with that shot. I'm just going to rip 8-iron right at it. I don't care what it does. Eliminate, you know, the variables.
That's so interesting hearing you say that, especially because, like, Brookline, the country club, is now obviously getting ready for the U.S. Open, and there's so much discussion about that, and Gil Hansen's work there, and restoring it back to the original days, back when it was on, like, the racetrack, and Ouimet was the caddy, and, you know, wins the 1913 U.S. Open, and all the history that comes with that. I think that it's interesting hearing the parallels. And I thought, actually, the Fried Egg podcast, I thought did an unbelievable series on this of what went on at Oakland Hills, about when it was built to 1950, when they had, to get ready for the 51 U.S. Open, they brought in Robert Trent Jones, who now is bringing in all this technology at the time, changing it up. And now, they hated how it turned out in 2008 when Robert Trent Jones' son redid so much of that, and then now that they're doing it again and back to like more the Hant style, that's and the Doak style of bringing it back kind of to the old tradition. So it's interesting seeing the progression that some of these classic clubs go through, and obviously there have been changes made to Brookline to get ready for the U.S. Open. But I do think it's fascinating to hear you share the player's approach, because I think that when you're on the outside, you spend a lot of time diving into the history and trying to understand the club and understand the topography and all those things that make such a difference to us when you're looking at the nitty-gritty. But at the end of the day, it's hit the ball as far as you can and try to put it in the hole.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. It comes down to do what you can to win. Like there's a term in Argentine soccer. As you play with la remera sucia, with the dirty shirt, you do whatever it takes to win, even if it means kind of bending the rules a little bit, right? And you have that example of Diego Maradona, the hand of God, where he did on purpose. He didn't think he'd win that header, and he did. They didn't catch him. Hey, they didn't catch it. I got away with it. It goes against the laurels of like the principle of the game. But when you're out there trying to win, man, you're doing whatever you can do to win, right? Versus now when I play, I love taking 6 clubs out there, not keeping score. Golf is a walk in the park, right? It's a walk in the park. You just happen to be playing a sport while you're doing it, much like surfing is, right? You go look for that connection to memories, to life, or whatever it is, clearing your headspace. That's what golf really is. But when you're in competition and you're judged by your scores, do what you can.
He's Nico Bollini. My name is Trent Rush. Short timeout. When we come back, it's our 19th hole here on the links. You're listening to Angels Radio, AM 830. Guess there's a thing or two to talk about this week when it comes to golf. Nico, I can't help but think this has been a really good week for golf. As much turmoil has been created, golf has been in the headlines in every outlet, on the front page of every sports publication in the country, in the world.
Wall Street Journal.
This is huge. And this isn't Augusta. This isn't Tiger winning the 2019 Masters. This is middle of the season, non-major, but something fascinating happening in the sport. Maybe something turning for what could be a long time. We'll have to see. Time will tell. I hate saying that. It's like the worst thing you should ever say on air, but it's true, because we'll have to find out what ends up happening here, because I think that 2 weeks ago, this thing looked like it could be DOA. Now, it's alive and well. My question for you, Nico. They call you. Greg Norman gets on the phone. Nico Bollini, we want you to play on the LIV Tour. Are you in or are you out?
At my age and at my point in my golf career, I'm in. Because I'm not 22. I don't have this huge this huge career path ahead of me. I'm like, it's going to be tough for me to compete. I might be a middling journeyman on the PGA Tour at this point. I'm going.
Pat Perez, who came out as hard against this thing as you possibly could, he's on board.
Yeah. He's 46, he's 45, 46 years old. Like if the PGA Tour bans him, whatever, he's got another $15 million. He's not going to make that on the PGA Tour. No chance. So he just kind of ride out the flames and then retire.
The whole question is going to be, can they get the guys that are 25, 26 in their primes rising? Maybe you don't even have to get that.
Well, Rory just came out with a comment and shots were fired. So he's not going anywhere. So he's dug his heels in. He's PGA Tour.
I love it.
Yeah.
I can't wait to continue this conversation next week. By the way, U.S. Open next week. Brookline, it's going to be awesome. We'll have a Sunday show for you on Father's Day here on AM 830. He's Nico Bollini. My name is Trent Rush. Hey, if you missed any of this show, check out the podcast. You can find us on Instagram at On The Links Show. We got a YouTube page as well. Check it all out. Until then, we'll say goodbye for now. When we come back on the other side of this break, we got some Angels baseball to discuss. The Angels on Deck pregame show with yours truly right after this here on Angels Radio, AM 830.